Hello, Barbaderos. Barbadero sees, which is greetings. That's the plural part. It's donated for the English language, but it's like inflected like another language would be. So we could appreciate the volume science of humanity, hypernative pure, how it is abridged. It is showing us the increasing needs for Native Americans and for everyone else to voice how the hypernative system is abridged. We're supposed to use how Native Americans are our founders. And see, in other words, they're still divided just like our founders who had to counter or extort our other founders. And though there are those natures of unity that are collusion with the positives and the negatives to screen the identity of the breaching method. And the identity of the breaching methods, identity of relationship to all things, individually finite, grouped, all group differences. Any group they can make up. You keep staying to entertain these systems, tactical ulterior, from the one that is hypernative pure. Semi, our founders, who had to counter extort the other founders, and the Native Americans together, even though they were fighting with each other. And that value, because they were fighting with each other how to adapt. Obviously, that's the most probable, practical, and obligated thing to convict, to theorize, let alone to convict. So there's a breaching method that had already consumed since semi-ancient times, since before modern nations, modern religions, messengers were even born. The sciences had already become criminally foreign influence defenses of the names of the sciences, therefore the names of each, and of the names of each, therefore the names of the sciences, and the difference of that. Nature uses how we have the same color eyes, we have different color eyes at the same time. So now Boolean logic is used to measure and maintain, other than the history, other that is discernibly proper, more probable to theorize, let alone to convict regarding the history of algebra, for example, of each of the sciences. English was revealed to teach where and how the sciences share an identity and where and how they appear not to, is right where and how simultaneously too. It is showing us how one identity of hyper simultaneous uses the volume sciences we are, anything we could even make up to, the order of the finite, the order of grouped difference, the order of /s, and the order of the species volume singular, the species body of individual bodies. So this is how, before the sciences became criminally entertained, criminally foreign influence, or countered as collusions, or exceptions as collusions. Blaming other things over the answer is that the hypernative system is abridged. It teaches us about positive and negative. Cell nucleus, cell body, cell wall, /s, the body of value coming through it, not just gases and their relativity to positive and negative that way. Water and its elements, positive and negative that way. With a hyper simultaneous is showing us its system speaks about positive and negative, but it doesn't speak through systems abridged. Okay, will it adapt? No. Too long, this one species, humanity, has been systems tactical ulterior. And people pretend passions and emotions. You know how there's normal when you have reactions, you could describe things. I knew instantly I don't like or don't like this person. Obviously, since founding, there's a whole bunch of ways to discern. Like, for example, the intelligence community at Central Connecticut State University, New Britain, Connecticut. They influence people. This is on a mass scale. They influence people to pretend motivations. And they lock this increasingly because of not just here, at every modern country, of foreign bodies left out. For example, there are collusions at campuses, including fire and medical campuses. like where people speak for a reason, logic, but it's only concentrated there. This is a method where it uses all location slash S, and it uses motivations. What motivated our founders were born? They had their actual motivations. They had to counter extort the other founders, and that was only capable of they were only capable of doing that. One reason, because the laws were so crazy against anyone syntactically, and what everyone would have to sense again for it, working for the breaching method. Still, who has heard blame on the breaching method that was recorded, having had crazy laws with black and white assigned to mean other in the databases? Native, natural, assigned to mean other. Hypernative, because the hypersimultaneous is the hypersimultaneous. There's one identity of simultaneous that's distinct from the simultaneous nature as a sequence, individual nature, as or as a group. Differences, anyone's natural or not, and all the natural differences, black white, now assigned to mean other. It is also hyper-evidential, therefore the hyper-evidential has been forbid free speech. Other had to be pretended for the breaching method. Other would have to be the motivations of the tools it would have to use, which is our own, where the human species body is. But or blame it wrong, or exceptions as collusion, because everyone's using exceptions. Exception nature syntactically defended can't defend that and afford discern how describe properly how the mind works, how reason works. The value of sequence true. What really came first? A human fact, human nature breaching method. Oh, let's take. Don't forget anything syntactically that America ever did good, like try to describe war crimes. We never did it alone. You never heard described for you properly what caused Jim Crow laws. Instead, used by a breaching method to measure and maintain, and only fake things told, and mixed tactical delusions / hyper tactical. They have the same problems, fake integrity there, suits and ties, counters and exceptions. See, everyone came through schools that told you to believe. Indifference, any of the difference, we have to leave the hyper invisible but still discernible is one of the things that is functional being, how it is a distinct identity of simultaneous nature that reveals how humanity has quality aspects and natures about ourselves that the other species bodies have at the same time. So it's not even debatable. There's a shared identity that we aren't, but we are anyway because it is us. And it is them while it is us. And we even know where there's the smallest part of what you know is true always, not denying the slightest sequence shift, for example, or the value of what came first. Because the use of that to just force the quality of fact human nature. We have evidences planting at locations. We have roles with all the statistics on all the negative value nature progressions, acts in nature that have unfolded, and that continue to take new shapes and styles and approaches to us, and not just our modern name. Countries A through Z are in a latter semi-ancient trap /S, but the /S part is through our names. So we must have thankfulness. And we're, in other words, but now we're speaking about positive. For example, again, we are now using systems tactical ulterior from its own. So there are criminal insidious natures of positive treatments. Not a lawyer, common sense, that are collusion demonstrable per nature. and that are collusion with the negative to hide the breaching method, because every identity has relativity to positive and negative simultaneously. Every science is about relativity, and that's about the identity the sciences share. Boxing, martial arts, and wrestling, they share the identity the sciences share grouped. It teaches us why and how group differences are grouped. But again, all natural differences are being and haven't been assigned to measure and maintain, for example, other than what nature answers with those questions under the guises of experts. This used remotely, all formal, people allowed to speak for anything serious, positive, or negative. In other words, after coming through schools that have communicated other for Marbury versus Madison, and because they've communicated other, for example, about the torture of and about the extortion of George Washington and of James Madison and of the Native Americans. And all exceptions that tried to counter that syntactically, they keep it blamed on other things other than themselves, even when correctly, exactly the way the breaching method needs wrongly, as collusions. Our founders left us, George Washington, we were supposed to treat the extortion of him. They had to count James Madison, then they had to counter extort other founders. And I know that but we're supposed to treat honestly, common sense, the extortion of George Washington. Had we done that, we would have come to torture. And the people that are torturing people, then if you complain about that, it sounds like you talk to them. They put fake transcripts. The ER will play the real doctors. They're mixed with doctors and physicians, like people of medicine involved. Putting fake conversations, evidences, because they're hiding lipoaggressions, all at other locations too. And timed roles with the World Trade Center used criminal outsides, the differences used remotely. Central Connecticut State University has roles with predicate acts every day with facts. Nothing personal against them. Each campus is great. You see, but from off them, what kept them incapable of speaking? What is it speaks for Black people? Not its course. So not science speaks anywhere. We have to be able to address this. How they get away with this is collusions with people we didn't have classes with, putting fake things in databases, and with the uses of the exceptions. Tactical terror from how nature uses it. Evidence is planting, including online, and the differences between that. They have wire crimes with the Wethersfield police, Facebook, and Congress, used remotely, criminally foreign influenced. WFSB fabricated fake conversations with me about the World Trade Center. They also pretended I had conversations with other people about the World Trade Center attack, who I didn't. And I was in the Ninth Circuit Court right next to the World Trade Center right before the attack. And names on all sides of that case were used by people on Central Connecticut State University involved with predicate acts intercities through time, and increasingly involved with the names involved, like with this name Dylan. And the ones with the Wethersfield police, with their confessions, they're forging and switching names. These are people bring up each other's names. People with the name O'Brien, and further with a principal child abuser. So kids of Wethersfield and parents of Wethersfield. Some of the kids have roles with an identity theft. This is each age of fact-cheating nature. So there are people who had the high life progressions from other places. They have to keep the quality of fact-cheating nature. I'm not a lawyer, but it has criminal insidiousness nature, so positive treatments or negative treatments, or sequence shift self-value. See, this breaching method uses measured and maintained self-value other things, other ourselves, than itself. Blamed the breaching method that caused slavery. That was before our founders were born. It was entrenched in North America, in South, I mean, northern colonies and southern colonies before America's founders were even born, except for the Native Americans, who are our founders also semi. But semi, we haven't been founded yet. We haven't liberated, we haven't addressed extortion of George Washington honestly yet, which would have come to how they were, in fact, human nature enslaved too. These are systems tactical ulterior from the one that is hypernative pure. This is why the Native Americans had to fight with the Native Americans. The colonists were fighting and killing the colonists, each other. Well, it's human nature and systems tactical ulterior from its own. We have suburbs that were designed tactically to nature for the torture and for the extortion of our founders before they were born. The design of suburbs, let alone the cities, it measured and maintained. No one could speak for that. No one could speak for the Constitution unabridged. Who's gone? Sensed and discerned. Everyone's already locked into. You can't entertain. You guys have roles of predicate acts with facts because you were child abused. Because that's what this is about. What's in the way? Where there are revelations that come from using this truth with the revelations that come with it. We have black people's rights of eyes, a breaching method assigned them to mean other, and other things and others or selves are blamed instead of that breaching method. Exactly the way the breaching method set up. In the defenses of the motivations, narratives of that, and how they're apparent. Because not one science body honest spoke for New York City, spoke for Hartford, Connecticut, let alone New York City, spoke for New Britain, Connecticut, let alone New York City, because everyone was child abused. Sickly distinctly, but also sickly to measure and maintain any voice or nature that's going to counter how non-distinctly or nature no. This needs criminal insidiousness natures of positive treatments and technically self-value with convictions. A conviction's an identity of relationship to itself, to the mind, to reason. So I'm not a doctor, but we could use the hyper-evidential to delineate their delusions from their criminal foreign influences here. I'm not a journalist, but we could use them planting evidences, uses of licenses that are supposed to make them not lie, and the exceptions where they are directed by intelligence to lie. They're demonstrating has to do with how they have a whole bunch of different countries involved with the names on off my street, with predicate acts, with facts, who are also from other classrooms, ones I didn't even have classes with, involved with predicate acts, with facts, identity theft, fraud, slander. So they could get away with it and put fake motivations with the foreign bodies' time, overt criminal enterprises, private ones, unions, because criminally foreign influence readings of statutes where they give people the right to lie about the other union people. Then they use that where they don't have that right. They have roles with, then they have to hide how they've been using investigators remotely. Roles with uses of them, including the World Trade Center attack. There are a whole bunch of people with the Leahy family, a whole bunch of like men and women in the whole family. People with the name Lombardo too, involved with Hartford Hospital, and people with tied to the Dillon family, and people with the community center of Wethersfield, involved with medical offenders of kids, involved with judges and prosecutors and their family members, on and off shopping centers and malls, on and off, in other words, identity theft, fraud, slanders, make fake exceptions, then pretend the person's lying, and because we saw it from the distance, you yelled something out, in other words, etc. Has something to do increasingly with their roles on off the state capitol and the conjunctions to it. Former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, his lawyer, Robert Chevrolet, is there, in those spots there. Increasingly, people involved with the wire crimes with the Wethersfield police, as families with retired police chiefs, as families with the whole different departments, with the same house in intercities, planting evidences with other intelligence, foreign and domestic military, leading up to the center attack. In that context, it stands. I am counter them. They are collusion. And the difference of that and the exceptions are collusion. Because the first part of the Old Testament says, only right here is what you have to know up to. And it says, the names of the people of the sciences will come together. Because the sciences share an identity of the hyper-simultaneous. Honest science reveals we need to discern this identity that revealed why humanity has two eyes. For example, other species bodies of totally different species that have two eyes. They have quality aspect, even the insects. There is a shared consciousness that we have been forbid use of the hyper evidential to make proper simultaneous diffusion of. That means coming to, from, as, with, and for, of things, vaccines. Is the identity of the hyper simultaneous. Its identity of relationship to itself. See, even though we're the only smallest part of all space / existence, note we have a special difference too. Not additionally as Earth, but we're systems other than it. So know how we have self-value going to space. But know how economic positions were for self-value before we were ready to address this entrenchment. It knew that we would blame other things, others ourselves, and then defend that. Every modern country before you guys came, in America, before our founders came, it knew. It was sensing, in other words, already had them. Foundation suits and ties, counters. Already the sciences had been criminally formed. That's what the religious messengers were up in arms about. The sciences of criminally foreign influence. How come we never heard this phrase? Because everyone puts blame with the law wrong. The way it set up that. And that difference. That's criminal insidiousness. A through Z as formal identities of the law. And the difference of that with overt criminal enterprises, private ones. And the insidiousness to quality aspects and nature of the logic of people A through Z. The styles of it, the nature of it itself. Speaking other, and blaming other things, others ourselves. For example, right there, for the real causes of slavery. So we're going to address this because it's against all the fits, boxing. I teach those things. The species body belongs to shadow box. Some rest. I tell it best, at least some pace. Try. It hurts not one. Box things this way. There is one way to fight that hurts not one. Even when everyone loses, anyone who loses, they all win. For example, from America to Ukraine, from America to Russia to Ukraine, the suburbs look exactly alike. From before our founders were born, it was involved with the extortion of them. It caused tactically denatured landscape theater, mow the lawns each year, less worms. Worms used to walk in the body of water. The body of water, they walk into it, it was theater then. Now there's, all those lace worms are gone. But Ciao Italia is the name of a cooking book. And in it, I think it's Maria Esposito, if I remember correctly, is the author of it. In it, she says her favorite fish is largemouth bass. And it lives under the ice. But we don't have this in the stores. See, we don't have self-defense because we don't have the hyper-native as our nature at countries A through Z. And since before modern religions came. How come no one? How come no one? See, they want to make it a unity, or the same old fights for independence with same old logic and with subject treatments. So we can't go out to the. We have to We have to go after the. Sequence values and the value of what came first. In other words, mandated law. There are things people could lie about as police forms, as courts, but they use that right to lie, but they don't have the right to lie because they were shown needs to and means to. Because this breaching method used remotely all investigators. So a Leahy family pretended to hold fake transcripts, conversations with me, or I had conversations with them in my life. And they did this with various natures of courts, judges, and prosecutors involved with them personally, criminally, foreign influence, tactical illusions, rock. It could use roles with uses of investigators remotely, worse than war crimes. So we could define these statutes. Because they attach me and others to fake conversations with ourselves and with others about the World Trade Center. They lie about the outcome in criminal and civil cases as collusions with crime scenes, with predicate acts method, whole predicate acts methods. Don't forget, this is a predicate acts with facts method. I'm not even a lawyer. Who denies that? They're gonna have inherent active and progressive to their fact sheet nature, quality aspects of nature. Demonstration, the same thing. That's part of why they switch names at the branch. It's part of how they get away with it. The forgiveness is to not leave out the foreign body, hyperbody, the breaching method, and or the foreign bodies. See, but we have to have forgiveness there too, because they have the same problem there. Sickly distinctly, and the difference of that too is used. Sickly non-distinctly against everyone. Is inseparable from all subjects. Who denies that what slavery was about was predicate acts with facts method and or nature? Used nature itself used. Criminal insidious is nature positive or negative to hide the identity of the breaching method, which nature is increasingly demonstrating to us and having demonstrated. To those of the science proper from the past. So the beginning of the Old Testament says only right there, only right defend this part, and not one person even knows about it. Because the differences between the people counter the religions and the religious stewards, their inclusion with use of location /s, uses with other people's names, uses of their logic styles, their logic nature. So follow mandated law for them on here on YouTube. The FBI also has roles with people tied to Joshua and as a Joshua Julian, also on Facebook, where and how also former director of the FBI has roles with them. And more people recording, like people on Harvard Hospital, have roles with the World Trade Center attack, and then with the resulting war locations, investigations, and uses of our country's names. Also with the intelligence community next to them through time. Prepare your mind. Vaccines. I teach us things. So they use war crime acts and methods. They attach little kids to fake conversations with themselves, the Wethersfield police, because the kids they did attach to conversations with themselves, they use them criminally for an influence. Has something to do with their roles with the North End, with police forms. They're also involved with Old Town Cafe in Wethersfield, in Old Wethersfield, with names who've been planting evidences, roles with uses of investigators remotely, child abusers, people involved with elderly homes and VA locations, in the policing and on and off that. The difference of that, overt criminal enterprises with the same ones, private ones, and through other natures of things. See, forgiveness is so we can force that quality of fact shaping nature proper, that care as a parent. And we need the angry father now. Fake branches. Wow. The wall. /s. Every country is in the same ancient trap. All rap, boxings. We can teach us things. Well, it makes us shush. Cool shadow box. You'll see. Boxing makes one shush, and wild sings, as wind, as its rest, and thinks. That's 15. YouTube.com/user/Romulus Wall. My name is Anthony Wall, but this is Romulus Science. This is Romulus and Remus science. It's more probable and more practical. For example, we're going to take counter positions with the ancient gaming system. And we should make a video. Who wants to do a video about it? You have to let me have complete. Well, I have to think about how to describe that first. Like very different videos we could do. Like anyone who wants to do a video about New York, and in other words, admitting have to be a nature that is not going to deny for any reason. I would say, in other words, I wouldn't mind normally, but in other words, if for any reason, significance of such things. Because this is like the hyperscope, having black pupils and whites of eyes, an exception, having the same colored eyes as everybody else, while having different, and having exceptions. So people have eyes like us at the same time. Nature's telling us how to describe things. Nature's showing us its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that. Equally increasing. How do we know they're equally increasing if they're invisible? Because any subject we could conceive simultaneously, individually grouped or all together simultaneously. It is also value as / more subjects. Space / existence is making more of that identity of hyper simultaneous nature. Also, a forever nature is one of the things it is, as each thing is, temporarily at least, and a little bit more we've agreed to formally. But even formal agreements, and the difference of that has been applied by this preaching method that measured and maintained. No one could speak for the law. I'll whisper Creek. So America's founders, to understand them before our founders were born, you have to understand the human fact human nature breaching method was measuring, maintain, sabotage of, not just sabotage of, tactical replacement, tactically replacing the quality aspects in nature that is hyper-native pure. That is the memory of the Native Americans. That is the memory of the Europeans forbid, unless through, a criminal re-engineering as itself. And so Boolean logic and the value of it and the nature of debate regarding such is measured and maintained. The only way the sides can defend themselves, uses of criminal self-value, criminally for influence, fact, human nature, quality, aspects of nature, simultaneously tactically delusions wrong. How this is being and has been gotten away with is how pretended used as evidence legitimately are things written about blaming our founders for slavery. The ones like George Washington and James Madison, when leaving out how they were fact, human nature, enslaved too. And everyone was measuring and maintaining everyone either collusion / S with all these things that additional to screen itself. If someone sends someone out with that, they hurt them through themselves. What were witch trials about? Even if the witch trials were made up, regardless who made them up, they're about slavery. How do we counter it? We counter how it's non-distinctly against everyone. Now, we counter how that has not been. That's also hyper-evidential, brings revelations. We be the nature that uses truths, not for lies. And we could even sense it. So now, the humanity in the buildings, in the Little Rap Guy Friends cartoon. Little Rap Guy and Friends are charged with the cultivating the counter extortion of New York City cartoon value nature system, in Hartford, in neighboring suburbs, and just like our founders. So we could discern this breaching method never left, how it never left, and how our founders and who they were and are hyper-native. Otherwise, we get it wrong because the Constitution on a bridge is hyper-native pure. It does not leave out how the ground's identity, its identity of relation to itself, and the value of that is measured. In other words, even though we're only there's only an extent of all of space existence, we can discern and know that we know to this extent this is truth. Wherever it is, that is true always. Not truth being used for a lie. Its identity, or even if it's a truth, wherever we have a truth, its identity of relationship to itself. And the value of that is only increasing. Even if you have something you made up, even if you have a lie, its identity of relationship to itself are equal. But its identity of relationship to itself comes equally with that because where it's the phenomenon of not being in a volume, but being one anyway. And it's where and how more volume is made. This is how, this is more so, and is more finite so, and is relativity to what is active more so than computers could ever be. They could only be, in other words. So we have the nature of the debate of this possessed / hyper-possessed of every subject, every science's name. Sustained uses of that from latter semi-ancient times. We're held to maintain, manifest, sustained hyper-additional appearances behind the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures that nobody wanted, non-distinctly against every single person. But don't forget the relativity of other things, others or selves having been blamed for the breaching method caused things and maintained things, boxings. So Hartford, Connecticut is not free, let alone New York City. And who wants to debate this? They put fake people on there. They put fake people because they play the sense and sensibilities, use John Austin's phrase, of the social platforms to Twitter. Before the sale of Twitter, the FBI had and has roles with people with the name Ian, on-off parks with the FBI, and with foreign and domestic military, intelligence, and judges and their family members planting evidences. They do little crime methods where and how being and having been used remotely because it's timed roles with foreign bodies and used at corners of buildings and streets. It's identity theft, fraud, slander manifest non-distinctly against everyone. Where it is sickly distinctly against everyone, a fact, cheap nature, torture, extortion, slavery method. I should have been by now unaccosted with everyone agreeing and connecting with these better than perfect words to explain the torture, extortion, and in fact, cheap nature, slavery of people A through Z. And you guys, the law says I have to start with myself. So I told you to get the interbranch onto paper and WFSB and WTNH fabricated emails and with names at corners of streets, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with them, with the intelligence community on off Central Connecticut State University and other campuses, and people along Church Street in Old Wethersfield, all along Route 175 in conjunctions to it, involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, Also has rules of wire crime acts and methods and mail crime acts and methods with the intelligence community and the difference between them and the foreign ones, and where and how they're actually manifest on off campus is not legitimately trying to pretend to be or are, um, you know, the ones that pretend to be on Facebook, like Los Solitos, and people associated with the body dumping spot of Billy Grasso, people with the name Fianza, increasingly involved with as neighbors of Sal Civiello. A whole bunch of people tied to Sal Civiello involved with identity theft frauds against me, wire crime acts method rules with them. I don't know the people from come there with intelligence community on Two Route Highway involved with the Fianza family, also on off a whole bunch of people on off the state judicial branch offices, further involved with the school boards, also with the FBI, and with remote uses of investigators. Sandy Hook campuses too are roles with the various courts, various natures of courts and their family members, a whole bunch of probate courts involved on Two Route Highway with intercampuses and names next to them, planting evidence, identity theft, fraud, slanders. Then they say things when in the presence of people when there's no responses to and have these are people that have other people that weren't even in conversation with them. They're putting whole fake transcripts with overt criminal enterprise. They bring up fentanyl, for example, in the news. Now I never seen in real life fentanyl or anything like that, but they bring that subject up and that's measured and maintained. The sources, the intelligence community, the FBI, foreign and domestic military. They have roles all along Route 175 with names through time, on off all sides of the campuses, planting evidence, identify fake motivations. Then there are time roles, time uses of those names on my street from other areas, with the same house / S involved with the with the name Claw with the Wethersfield police. And the Bob Chase said Phil Claw was involved with the principal child abuser further. And their neighbors. I'm sorry for right after my father died. There was a Dylan guy who non-verbally demonstrated to me. He has roles through time with bad things with the kids, elderly homes, foreign with the people involved with the World Trade Center attack, all sides, including they forced Saudis I know to collusions with them, and they don't even know about that. So they're forcing our side to be them for their own means, but sometimes it's other people that influence them too. And the difference of that is also being used because these are people that went to every campus I went to and the people next to them, increasingly involved with drugs and medicines crimes with the kids, syntactical crimes. So you have a whole bunch of people, types of identities of experts only need to force the quality of fact nature. They can't defend it because they can't defend themselves and what they convict and theorize and afford to protract, short words. So they put lists and make it, in other words, oh, I don't understand. They put all these names. They also put us fake conversations, pretend we're saying everyone's evil and things like that. While they put all the people tied to them saying fake things about us. And I caught them with child abusers in the elderly homes at the same time. The veterans' locations. You're out of your mind with the people involved with the drugs. And UConn, please follow mandated law for the people at Hartford Hospital. You have your patients there. You have the intelligence community, a whole bunch of people with the name Violet involved with predicate X on my street, drugs and meds, untimely death rolls out of Trinity College and CCSU. Also, a Terry Cleesa, recorded confession, planting evidences. People with the name Luigi Guerrero, a whole bunch of people tied to this. Jonathan Maiano, too, involved with identity theft, fraud, slander, sequence shifts involved, and planting evidence, federal evidence is crimes, federal rules of evidence is crimes, and fake motivations, planting with foreign bodies, and people involved with that, child abusers, leaders of the kids, elderly abusers with the same ones involved, time uses of that. So there's also a Joshua Stryker and this Joshua Julian involved with the principal child abuser's Facebook page and with the one at Trinity College with a Joshua Stryker recorded involved, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with child abusers, identity theft, fraud, slanders, and predicate acts. Let's get them on paper, please. Someone tell them too. So we could keep this focused on him and the FBI director and his co-defendants also involved with predicate acts on off Trinity College and other campuses. I went behind my back putting fake things in databases, rolled fake evidences there. These are also campuses filmed 24/7. You should wait till you see all the things that the agencies and their family members are behind. Follow mandated law for them leaking too while they delay too. Get to fix the WFSB fake conversations with me. This is through elections. These are people with election spots and uses of confessions intercities that are connected all to the same house slash S through time. In other words, since they were kids, everyone was abused. Other fact treatment nature oriented wise. A whole bunch of different ways, a whole bunch of different natures of predicate acts methods, natures of organized crime roles, uses of right to lie, which is a phrase used by a guy reportedly named James Comey through MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News sources involved with the Congress, where they are used remotely grouped and together, predicate acts methods relative. This is what our founders left us to communicate when we were supposed to talk about the extortion of George Washington, fear, and of James Madison simultaneously. It is righteous here. And so, too, the beginning of the Quran in the Old Testament, they are prevented their value. And who's guilty of preventing it is also their collusions with worse uses of the differences between the people who counter the religions and the religions to prevent that from being valued properly. Beginning of the Quran says only thing you have to do is name the scientific value of the identity of the hyper simultaneous, so to speak, not just so to speak, per science. Allah or not. Just be honest about that. And it says, for the slightest reason, you're not supposed to pray in a mosque if you feel for the slightest reason. And there are proofs that that's because Islam and other modern religions, the Old Testament, they're trying to preserve our means to overcome criminally foreign influence sciences and grounds identity of relationship to itself, the republic for which we stand, and exceptions that are also functional. No, in other words, for example, yin yang and alpha and omega, they're more probable that were revealed to teach because it will only stay positive unto itself. And where and how it will only, the value of a special difference will only stay increasingly valued, distinctly from how it will, non-distinctly too. But in other words, don't forget what makes Earth different. What makes us different is this hyper-additional nature, that identity that all things share. And while not, we have the same color eyes, while not. Black pupils, beard. Each color's course will return vaccines, appears. So those are World Trade Center predicate acts. And they planted fake motivations. WFSB, I can't call them on the phone. They use wire crime action methods. They put fake transcripts with the other police forms involved with them intercities. They have people along Route 3 involved with stories with them with a Roger Susanna, who's one of the ones involved with them, with the principal child abuser and planting evidences. Now they have sources of the people that had kids at the campus at the time. Some ways in other words, they brought it up though. The intelligence community did. And then they get the other people involved with it and they're leaving out the other courts because those courts had already been involved before the World Trade Center attack. They affected confessions to me and to others at New Britain and West Hartford locations. It's how I know that they forced, tricked, hurt, and persuaded each other different ways to be collusions. Also not knowing, leading up to the World Trade Center attack in sense, including Kuwaiti general and his extended family members involved with a Colleen Dean Keys from people from Texas Community College are involved with where and how the intelligence community puts a whole bunch of fake motivations with their narratives where they collect information. They think subjects' names with their scientists' names. They are abridged. And it's nothing personal. These are the people involved with the sources. There's also, in other words, of the Wethersfield police that have wire crime acts and methods. They've been forging and switching names, Wethersfield police. So they have worse than just extortion methods, recorded, predicate acts methods. And they have roles with use of confessions relative, like confessions about themselves switching names with the name McGee on different falsified police reports for different arrests, different situations. They're putting fake things. They have people calling fake things for them. Then they have the different, sometimes they call in true things, use truths for lies. Stack it. They keep things going before the locations involved with their families. You need to hide life progressions, roles with predicate acts when they were kids. All exceptions, even the ones that I had in class, I never had anything to do with them. Try to make fake exceptions after. In other words, as time collusions with all names on all sides in criminal and civil cases, and the interbranch planting evidences at the same time as names with timed roles with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, people next to body dumping spots, timed uses of that. They made confessions intercities on off the campuses with people from other parts of the city and intercities on my street, kids, people. Here. So get the Wethersfield police on the paper. They've been fabricating transcripts to hide what's recorded, people. They have pictures, more pictures of the kids, including of the kids of some of the doctors involved with abuses of the kids. A Leahy family's daughter is involved with more, women and men involved with various natures of abuses of kids, including uses of the differences of that, including women with sexual roles with sexual predators. So they have these subject treatments where they bring up these crimes and they leave out their own roles because they have foreign bodies involved. They have uses of location /S involved. So Whiting Forensics has a whole bunch of people involved all along next to the schools and with confessions regarding the middle school, further with the principal child abuser. And there are people involved with Whiting Forensics that are also increasingly and tied to them, criminals with them, involved with the mayors from Wethersfield, including a Gold family, that they recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, also involved with them with child abusers and drugs and medicines crimes against each age of fact-cheating nature, including as the ones that are only allowed to counter such. Vaccines. So please hurry up, get them on paper. They're also using time. Watch how they're confessing this. Wethersfield police know that they're hiding this with federal agencies and other police departments. They're putting fake motivations as one's timed roles with overt criminal enterprises. The Witness Protection Program is involved with them with a Joshua Stryker too. Also with the corners on Griswold Street, corner of Griswold Street and Fairline Drive. People involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders against me through time, also as intelligence families. Fear God, get them on paper. And it's nothing personal. I don't know any of those people. You get them on paper. We're like this. These are the ones with a Judge Smith too. And in other words, and Judge Killian, his family member, people with a name, a judge with a name, and I don't know the same name, with the name Della Fera, and there's one with the name Spada, who's involved with identity theft, fraud, slander. I had a class with Spada. That was involved with other before I had to stay back. They put me in the class. I had 2 classes. But in other words, they're putting fake things in. In other words, we never had any problems. In other words, God knows what they put in databases because these are people putting fake things in databases. And these are people on off the 2 Route Highway with others' names I don't know, like a Dillon family tied to them. And the ones with the Fianzas know my name. They've been with the intelligence community, with mayors involved with child abusers, people involved with evidences, collusions, including with the news, planting evidences with the principal child abuser and the differences between the news locations. And then they pretend everyone's saying things bad about other. Get me off the fake conversations with W of his plea. B. please, and just help me, and I'll forgive you guys. I need the police chief Cintron on paper too, because he has John Miles recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed he has a daughter named Jessica Cintron. I never had met her in my life and never around her. And there's a Reno Mazzucato. It has something to do with people planting evidences with them. I barely one time made an exception, but also with with people on the Facebook page of the Wethersfield Police switching names and forging roles with predicate acts through time, wire crimes, identity theft, frauds, people with the name Schumack too. These are some Confederate flag themed and Mark Violet recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed a whole bunch of people tied to a Joshua Julian involved with Hartford Hospital with them, and spots next to Hartford Hospital, others there with the name DeMorrow and IL, also with the intelligence community, foreign judges, identity theft, frauds, planting evidence is crime, federal evidence is crime, federal rules of evidence is crime, and with mayors. And what are they doing with next to parks and schools? Here, get them on paper. Get them on paper. Let's go. The World Trade Center attack, New Yorkers. They attached me to fake conversations about that. Tell WFSB to fix the roles with the Twitter on them. They have roles with child defenders on Twitter too. An upskirt picture was on my Twitter page with one of the principals involved with various natures of sexual, medical, and other natures of including judges, women judges, women black, white, women judges, black team, white team, per that, and roles with the child defender principal and a KKK theme, Confederate flag theme. You fake passions. These are people pretending motivations because they're needing to hide what came first. Increasingly, people rolled with the O'Brien family with this, right through administrations. Since I was a little kid, can show you it was before everyone was born, and right through because it's right through the names next to the campuses too, involved with timed identity theft, fraud, slander, uses of corners of buildings and streets with the other nations. And with the overt criminal enterprises, even the witness protection program involved, as the people involved with the World Trade Center attack. All these things are connected. Follow your Christmas present who disbelieves. Get them onto one name and sequence. Connect it into branch switches name sequences. I'll train them, Judge Napolitano. Judge Napolitano, Judging Freedom. I'll train them how to make the whole country and world a better place. In other words, let me show you how much we can learn about how they confess they switch names and confess that, where they have roles with other natures of predicate acts and methods at the same time, and where they have motivations, narratives in the background, and they have roles on off the corrections offices, and on off the state judicial branch offices, increasingly as the ones planting that evidence is on off 2-rail highway and conjunctions. They also have, like Hangdog Lane. What the heck is that? The name of it? Who knows this Tom Perone too? Tom Perone too is another one. Tom Perone, and more than one Jerry Kerr and a Michael Kerr have roles with the corners of streets, like the corner of Church Street and Main Street in Old Wethersfield, and people involved with there used to be a Standish house there. And these are the maps, like the north end of Hartford. They have a whole bunch of police departments in the cities involved with the name Cololo, involved with foreign and domestic military leading up to the World Trade Center attack. In that context, also with the name DeMorrow. And these are people that have been attaching me to fake conversations with police at Wethersfield Police Department that I have never had anything to do in my life. And they're lying about their motive. People I don't know at all, like the Joshua Julian, involved with the Facebook page of the principal child abuser as one of the ones that was forcing that, who also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. When I got him to confess, he changed what he was saying. He was saying different slanders of me and things, identity thefts against me, and on the Facebook page of the principal child abusers campus. In other words, and with the people on my street, he recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed he has roles with, the police forms with home break-ins, and with the people that do it, that are as ones that had timed roles with criminal enterprises, when I was a kid in grammar school and in middle school, with kids I didn't even have classes with medical families too, foreign and domestic, and the differences of different campuses, fire campuses, foreign and domestic. Russians and Americans have roles with psychiatry and with a whole bunch of fire departments, families. The males and females in the departments repeat fake things with the FBI and other agencies. Their identity theft, fraud, slingers on a mass scale. They value things going before courts. Judge Napolitano, one of his videos one time, believe it was around 400 people in one day for an arraignment to come before a court when he first had to go to before a court. And that means that you go to the court, they're supposed to tell you what they're charging with. That has never been liberated. They have never been able to appreciate the Constitution on a bridge, let alone the value of what came first. And they make sure of that because they put rolls of predicate with facts, little magic tricks in databases. And where and how there are uses of tactical delusions, criminally foreign influence, fact, human nature, quality aspects, and natures in place of what our founders have left us to liberate, attend. Campus Marcius calls us home again. Vaccines, republics, way abridged. So yin yang is about the identity of the hyper-simultaneous, which is every identity is relativity to positive and negative simultaneously, by the way. And I forgot what the heck I was in. The identity of the simultaneous. Every identity is relativity to positive and negative simultaneously. So the identity of the hyper-simultaneous is relativity to positive and negative simultaneously. But where and how it appreciates Earth a special difference. And we have not been appreciating it. We have not been appreciating our own special difference, too. And we have not been appreciating the value of that. But as value as least of hadiths, not death. As systems, as negative, as a negative identity of relationship to itself as itself. See my song called History Song. Oh no, Black History. Black History by Anthony Wall. Because I said it good in there about how itself, as itself then proceeds. So there are proofs that science shows us these answers, and it showed the ancients that brought pantheism. So the campus mercy, and what I want to do, one of the things I want to make videos on is I want to reverse the colors. Not to play a game, because we're not going to entertain how they've been telling slavery. We're going to show how it was the slave of everyone sickly distinctly. And we're going to show how everyone not seeing that is being and has been played. But to understand how it has been played, you have to discern it. To understand American history, you have to understand the breaching method against Native Americans first. Divide and conquer is a truth used to lie, to possess, sickly distinctly, the difference between the colonial mind, the native mind, and or the native mind was more advanced then. Don't forget. Don't forget what the databases were involved with at the time. Don't forget. We have not addressed. We have not addressed it because the people have been citing evidences about our founders and claiming that other people have unrealistic things about American history, have been hiding the hyper-evidential they told us to communicate about how they had to counter-extort the other founders. Not the Native Americans, that too. They all had to, Native Americans had to counter-extort each other. That's why president slash chief and the colonial people had 13 colonies that were unconnected, and there were more than 13 colonies. They had to counter extort 13 powerful positions, but power based on a mixture of things that had nothing to do with power as it would be described properly relative to its means to demonstrate to us the difference between power slash might slash non-different slash hyper difference. See, it was and is the value of what came true first, even if we all believe other. If it is other than that value, it will demonstrate to us. But we don't listen to that demonstration system, which works with the difference of positive or negative, because every identity has relativity, positive, negative simultaneously. That's why value has relativity, positive, negative simultaneously. It's about identity, and that's about hyper identity. But each science stands abridged. But it's from off those campuses. But it is concentrated there. It has a concentrated relativity to worst off campuses unfoldings. Vaccines. Follow mandated law for the branches of government. Right, and on time. Prepare your mind and each. So one must teach vaccines. I teach us things belong. Please, WFSB, fix that. Fix that. In other words, then you make problems with the kids and you make them have to go to those type of experts that's criminally foreign influence. Leading up to the World Trade Center attack in that context and since, the intelligence community had roles with it on medical community, planting evidences. And sometimes for their own motivations, sometimes for the other. And the difference of that also use criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw. They're attaching kids and their families to fake uses of drugs and alcohol. All exception nature. They're trying to make it look like they're planting evidences with the news too. So follow mandated law because more of Harvard hospital doctors. I don't keep listing names. It makes it sound like I'm connected to these people, but they're involved further with child abuses and with medical corruption with the kids, including judges involved with it, covering it up with them, speaking fake things in and databases. Fear God, get on papers fast, vaccines. So they have more placements with the campuses in the way. And I could have taught you guys English like that, and we have to appreciate the science to share. But I saw how they get away with this. They put placings there. So this Luigi Guerrero and his sisters and whatever, I don't know. Make sure they stay separate so they don't get involved with perjury. In other words, they don't know me. In other words, and they have involved with in other words, their involvements with this. So get them with the Wethersfield police switching names and making confessions on paper to one name in sequence from their roles intercities. Let's go. Let's get them on paper now. Fast. Begin this class. Don't be cowards. Wethersfield kids and the parents. Don't be cowards. Get one person and pick one name in sequence. Get on paper fast. I want a response for the rest of the things I caught them doing with the kids and with the whiting forensics involved with child offenders and with the witness protection program with corners of streets of people involved with them with predicate acts. Fear God. They thought to speak for law. Fear God. Now,